record. All right. Intro video starting now. What is up, everyone? No Cat Space is back here. I'm Tyler, joined by Greer, Andrew, and Shawnee, and we got a special guest, a returning guest. Now, at this point, Liv, thank you for coming and joining the No Cat Space again.
Yes, thank you guys. Thank you guys for having me on again to talk about everything NCAA March Madness.
Yes. No, we're super excited. First off, what have you been up to? Because I know you had some boots on the ground of your own. Kind of break it down. How was your week been? How was conference tournament week for you?
Yeah, so I was at the SWAC tournament in Birmingham, Alabama. The men and women's tournament happens at the same time. So it was a very hectic time. Games started at 11 a.m. and get done till 11 p.m. So I literally was in the gym all day, every day, just watching hoops, reporting on it. And it was, good. I love watching basketball, and they kept it entertaining and fun and stuff. But it was a very, very busy, tiring week.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I believe it. They cutting down nets, putting nets back up, all sorts of things like everywhere, man. Delays going on across the board. But no, we were tapped in, and you're the go-to person for HBCU hoops across the board. So you're the person to be tapped into, and no better person than to talk about these two HBCU matchups here in the first round of the NCAA tournament. Just kind of general thoughts here, Liv, about the seedings, because obviously, just across NCAA tournaments in general, the seeding of HBCUs is definitely a topic that is pretty consistently brought up, and how they kind of get the shit end of the stick. There's no other way to put it, really. So your thoughts here on the seedings for Jackson State and Norfolk State?
Yeah, so with Jackson State, it's crazy. Watching the seeding, I just had my fingers crossed the entire time that they weren't going to put them at a 16 seed. And I'm like, that's so crazy. Both of these teams had single-digit losses, and I'm sitting there like, not the 16, not the 16. And with Jackson State being the 14, I still think that they could have made a push to be a 12 or 13. Going through conference play, 21-0, having 6 losses on the season as a mid-major team, because HBCUs are still mid-majors no matter how people want to look at them. Having that P6 win under their belt, it was like I was like, I'm glad they weren't 15 or 16, because we know how the NCAA likes to play in HBCU's faces. But I was like, I could have seen them being a 12 or 13, but we'll make do, because if anyone remembers the 21-22 season when Jackson State gave LA hell, and that was a 3-14 matchup, jog everyone's memory.
Justice for Jackson State.
Yeah, that game was brutal.
Yes.
That game was brutal.
And then with Norfolk State, I really wanted them to be a 14, but I think that loss in conference to Howard actually hurt them. I think if they would have ran the table, they would have gotten a 14. But I think when the committee was selecting, they were like, oh, they lost to Howard. That's a reason to give them a 15 seed. So I was like, it's better than the 16. And so that's kind of where we are. I'll continue to advocate. I still think, Jackson State has shown that they can compete with those high major teams, especially in the tournament. So I'm hoping that both these teams can, compete. But I'm very hopeful for that Jackson State UConn matchup.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that too.
So to your point though, because I breathed a huge sigh of relief when South Carolina came up. And I saw Presbyterian. I was like, oh, thank God. Leave us alone and stop sending them to Columbia every year. Because, it gets, it makes for a cool little story or whatever. But we trying to win a championship too. So, let us have a fair shot at competing.
Well, it's an ideological inconsistency on top of it, right? Because the committee's willing to give Tennessee a 6 seed for scheduling difficult out of conference. And Tennessee's sitting there at 20-12 or so, and it's like, okay, but you get the benefit for scheduling hard. Where Coach Reed at Jackson schedules intentionally hard every single non-con, and they go in to SWAC play 7-6 and they've got losses to all these tournament teams that are all in high majors, but that doesn't get the same type of respect that Tennessee going 8-6 against teams that technically are in its own weight class the same way. And that's the issue that I have with just how we're adjudicating that across a high major to an HBCU and a mid major. And we said it last night, Norfolk State and UC Irvine being in the same section of the bracket, and Norfolk a 15 and UC Irvine is a 13. I will not understand that. There's no resume argument that matches that. Irvine doesn't have any wins that cross over in a meaningful way. I watched the Big West. I cover UC Davis. It's not a good conference this year. It is simply not. Its best teams have not performed, and its best team got bounced out of the tournament in the semifinal by a 20-13 UC Davis. If that's where you're going to put a seeding at 13 and Norfolk State at a 15, when UC Irvine could easily travel to Stanford and it's not a hit at all on their finances as an athletic department, miss me. Worst seeding of the bracket, in my opinion.
And I also want to say, I think this year is also extremely different for Jackson State because in the non-conference season, multiple SWAC teams beat P6 teams. So that shows how competitive the conference was this year, that not just Jackson State, not just Grambling, not just UAPB, not just Southern, they all had P6 wins. All but one were on the road. So I just think that this year, the SWAC was so competitive and had such high level talent. Both teams, I think, got the short end of the stick, but we're making movement. Norfolk wasn't, like she said, wasn't sent to Columbia. They weren't the 16 seed. Jackson State wasn't a 15-16, but there was a few teams I'm like looking at their record, knowing their conference, and I'm like, how are they ranked above a team that has only 6 losses? That's insane to me.
Yeah.
NCAA selection committee, we're on your head. We are hip to your nonsense. We're not letting you breathe.
Not just the tournament, the WBIT committee, Justice for Grambling. Talk to me.
Greer,
Yeah, no, I mean, I hear the optimism in your voice for the JSU UConn matchup. So I wanted to ask you, as a person.
Well, let's get into it. Because that's one of the messiest matchups right there. Let's get into it then, Greer. Go ahead.
No, I mean, okay, so I mean, the other people on stage know, they already know who I'm coming and who I'm rocking with. I'm a UConn Husky girl through and through, ever and ever. So I am curious. I watched them a little bit in the non-conference, but it's been a while since I've seen them, right? So like, if you are tuning into this matchup, which is going to be on ABC, love that. Jackson State getting to play on a major network is massive. How can Jackson State beat UConn? What do they need to do well to come out victorious?
Well, I think the number one thing that I forget her name, but she's a reporter of the UConn Huskies, put out was that UConn only has 8 healthy bodies right now, pending Aaliyah Edwards' return, which I saw an interview. She said she's for sure playing. If anyone has watched Jackson State, the way they press the ball, the way their guards can pressure the ball, if they can bring that intensity while staying out of foul trouble, they will make this a competitive game. And a player I want to shout out is Maya Crump, who is probably the best two-way player in the SWAC. She's 6'2", she's lanky, she has muscle on her. And I know she's like, when she saw that matchup, she was foaming at the mouth, ready to defend Paige Beckers. She was like, yeah, like she wants to be on that stage. And I also want people to realize Jackson State has a handful of P6 transfers, okay? Because people like to look at HBCUs and be like, oh, these are just, run-of-the-mill kids. Like, no, they have transfers from Houston, USC, like the list goes on and on of what Coach Reed has done in the portal. And she said in a recent interview, the portal really neutralized the playing field. So if they just come with the intensity, they stay out of foul trouble, and if their shooters make shots. Avent from Jackson State in their championship game, she was just on fire. Once that first one goes in, she's not missing again. And so I'm seeing how they played LSU 2 years ago, and I think they're ready for this matchup. And so their mentality, I honestly believe, not that they're underdogs. I think they feel like they were disrespected in the seeding and that they're ready to shock the world. And I also think seeing that UConn only has 8 healthy bodies, like that is so crucial to this, because Jackson State's bench is deep. She will play her bench so that they can press the entire game. I think it's just going to be, I think people aren't expecting it, because everyone in my comments was all the UConn Crusaders just came in my comments talking about.
I don't know them, just to be clear. I
don't know them. Andrew, why is your name Gino's Glasses? Is that your UConn burner? Is that
my alter ego?
They came in my comments ready to fight. I was like, oh my goodness. I just said, if they win, Twitter's gonna break. It might explode. Like, that's all I was saying. I think it's just
I think I saw that tweet. I know what you're talking about. That is, well,
yeah.
Welcome.
Am I lying though? Am I lying?
No, you're absolutely not.
You're not, because I'm gonna break Twitter. Like, I lead the charge.
Yeah, I would say outside of Harvard beating Stanford as a 16 seed way back when, in the internet era, it would by far be the biggest upset in women's college basketball history,
with some of the most eyes on it too with this tournament. And on ABC, like you ain't hiding from that loss if that happens. But I'm interested in this other matchup though, because Iowa versus Princeton, this was to kind of broaden the scope, outside of just the HBCUs across this bracket. This was your other matchup that you had eyes on to get a little messy, to potentially maybe even an upset. Liv, why Iowa versus Princeton? Why did this one stick out to you?
Well, I have both of them winning the first round, as I don't think the 16 seed will beat Iowa, but I just like, although Princeton, I believe they dropped their last game to Columbia, I just like the way they're playing. I like the different matchups that they bring against Iowa. And of course, Iowa's been hitting on pretty much all cylinders. Like, their bench is bringing productions. Their role players have really stepped up to give them that punch. But I think Princeton is really going to give them issues just based on different matchups and their scoring abilities. And I just think it will be interesting. And I think Iowa is going to find an early exit out of the tournament along with her interview.
Oh, no.
Oh man,
she'll be going too.
Oh man.
Oh no, not back to the men's tournament.
You said Holly hitting Cancun.
Oh no, not Cancun on 3.
She'll be there. Cancun on 3.
Man.
Oh no. So wait.
Go ahead.
Because I was gonna ask about some bonus mess since we have our Pac-12 guy here. If we could go back to the NSU Stanford matchup. Mimi Wheeler was thrown into the fire last year against Aaliyah Boston, and got high praise, was nationally recognized by Dawn Staley. What do you see potentially in this matchup? Because she's going against Cam Brink, so it doesn't get any easier. But what can you see? What do you see in this matchup?
So Mimi has just been dominant from start to where they are right now. If you haven't watched Mimi Wheeler, you are truly missing out on like a real post player who likes to bang. My only concern with this matchup is Stanford is huge. Okay, they're just 6'2", 6'4", 6'3", 6'3", 6'1", 6'10", 5'10", and like then when you look at Diamond Johnson, who's an amazing player, and once she gets going, it's hard to stop her. But like, she's 5'5". Across the board, Norfolk State is not that big. And of course, when they played South Carolina, who's known to be a ginormous team, they handled business. I'm just hoping that they can they can play their own game, not allow Stanford to make them play outside of their bodies, and they stay composed. I do think this is just, my only concern is the size. It's just it's so different. Art is so much bigger than Diamond, and Diamond's so strong. I want this to be competitive, but in order for Norfolk State to keep in it, their role players are really going to have to have to step up. So Clark, Bryant, those shots are going to have to be falling, because I'm sure Stanford is watching film and they're like, oh, we're double teaming Mimi the whole game. Take her out. Make someone else do something, because that's what I would do personally. I would be like, we're throwing the kitchen sink at her. Make someone else show up.
Well, hey, we have their study schedule.
I would like to point our attention to Andrew's name change also.
Holly Rose pink power suit. Andrew, what is your problem? Why is this actively changing? That's insane. The character changes.
Listen, as the Caitlin Clark beat reporter, you know Holly is going to be stepping out before
the pink,
everything.
The brightest of pinks.
She's going to have that shit on.
Yeah.
But she ain't packed too much.
Yeah, keep a receipt. Keep a receipt.
I mean, look, ESPN budgets probably are still pretty good. I'd have to imagine. I want to see Talana Lopolo Diamond and Diamond. That's gonna be fun. That I'm most curious to see, because Talana is also, you could argue, an undersized guard, not as athletic as Diamond, and the quest for her shot has been there forever at this point. I mean, she's only been in school for a couple of years now, but it's still there. Whether or not she is going to be the confident three-point shooter that Stanford needs her to be, this is an amazing early challenge to be like, all right, do these guards have it in them to be a Final Four caliber team? I do think that is going to be the thing we find out when they see Norfolk in the first round.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you guys brought up South Carolina, because in Liv's Final Four, they make an appearance. They're making an appearance here along with Stanford, who we also just talked about, but these other two teams on the other side. Liv, Colorado in the Final Four. Let's start there. Let's start there. Floor is open. Make the case.
I mean, we saw Colorado get that fire start in the beginning of season, and then, their schedule towards the end was just brutal, and I think that they honestly needed a few of those games to really beat them up so they could come back together and be like, we need to fix this, because we can't go into the tournament like this. What are we doing? We need to get on board and figure it out. But I just think they have such elite guard play. I think their post play gives people problems, and I just think they're going to be hitting during the right time. And I think that they do. I don't think anyone this year has an easy path, honestly, to the Final Four. I think they're all going to face different challenges. But I just like the road that they have to get there. And I just see it happening. It felt right. When I was looking through, I was like, this feels right. They're definitely going to be this. They're definitely
Johnny, the opposite of how you were feeling.
Right.
Yeah, I let it fly.
That
feels good coming off your hands, right?
It was just gut feeling. I was heat checking throughout the play.
Literally.
I was just straight up heat checking. I mean, listen, Colorado is a team that I know for me, like when you think about what you value, and it seems like you valued it here too. Defense in March is a huge thing, and they have one of the best on-ball defenders in Jalen Sherrod. And then you look at Ohio State, and they're full of defense. Is that kind of the same basis that you made here when it came to putting Ohio State in your Final Four as well?
100%. And I also think Ohio State just brings that energy. I think when, Colty is hitting and she's not forcing it and she's letting the game come to her, she's easily, can be one of the most dominant players in all of the NCAA when she's just letting it come to her. I think that's the biggest thing on their journey to get to the Final Four, is them just staying Ohio State and not allowing other teams to make them play outside of their body. Because even the second time they played Iowa, I thought that was, we all saw the extracurricular activities that were going on throughout that game. And like, oh. But I think that they just have, from the offense to the defense, they have the makings to really make a push. And like I said, all of these teams, obviously, I feel like everyone should have South Carolina in their Final Four, and if you don't, that's your prerogative. But you might be crazy.
She said you're wrong, but you can do it.
You can. But all these teams, it just felt right through their journeys. As I'm looking through their matchups and the teams that I had playing against them, I was like, obviously it comes down to coaching and playing, but their defense, offense, I just really love. And I think that they really have the players to make a statement. And I do have them in the championship game. So Ohio State.
Yeah, so your championship game is South Carolina, Ohio State?
It is.
Okay.
I'll go on record saying that.
We have the same championship game, Liv. So I'm
with
you. We're here with it. We're here with it, but we'll get into mine on a different time. But Liv, go Andrew. Go ahead.
Come to Liv's defense on Colorado real quick.
Go ahead. Oh, what a surprise.
Cowboy hat.
Deion's cowboy hat. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh.
Prime athletics. Here's the thing. We talked about it towards the end of the season for Colorado. That's a team that is an energy team, plays a press, plays very high intensity. They were absolutely gassed at the end of the regular season, and you could see it. Jalen Sherrod is the energy player. She was exhausted. End of this season, into the tournament, you could tell they were wiped out. And sometimes all a team needs is a week and a half off to recharge the battery for the stretch run. And maybe Colorado might be getting that. Also, the NCAA tournament, it's a guards tournament. If you have a solid big that can get you there, that's great. But a big isn't winning you the tournament. It's a guard. It's Deanna Williams. It's an Arie McDonald. It is in this year's
Arie didn't win, but okay.
Well, I was going to say, because Aaliyah Boston, Angel Reese.
Hold on, you can make an argument. Jasmine
Alexis
Morris.
Okay.
And you can make a similar argument with South Carolina as well. Whether that be.
Are you about to say Zaya Cook?
I think there
was Henny. Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I think you can make a argument that a big can take you to the Final Four, but a hot guard gets you a championship. And
I
like this
Colorado has the guard that can superheat in Jalen Sherrod. And if Aranette Vonleh is enough to get you to a potential second weekend or even into the third, Jalen Sherrod is the type of guard that can take you over the top. I like the pick.
And let Frida get hot.
Big Frida. I love Big Frida.
Don't let Big Frida cook.
Oh, I love it. No, I'm with it. That was a hell of an argument. I'm compelled. I ain't changing my pick, but I'm compelled. But Liv, we thank you so much for coming back into the No Cap Space. The door is always open. You're always welcome. Go ahead and, if you will, let the people know where to find you. We have your at there, but we'll let them know what you all about before we head out.
You can find me Live for Hoops on every platform. I'll toot my own horn. I really am your go-to HBCU basketball person for men and women. And so if you're trying to tap in, if you're trying to find out who's hot, who's not, you need to tap in with me. And to be honest, I wouldn't be surprised if a few of your favorite players on teams ended up at an HBCU next year because
I emoji.
They Cap Space exclusive.
So what I'm hearing is that everyone needs to go follow
today.
All I'm hearing is that everyone needs to go follow at Live for Hoops across the board
right now,
so they know what's going on. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
All right. Well, Liv, thank you so much for your time. As always, like I said, doors always open. We've loved having you on, and we've loved having you on again here today. Thank you for being part of our OG guest list as we build up to the for the March Madness tournament, not conference tournament. Lord, for March Madness tournament, we're gonna have so much content coming out. So, Liv, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much.
All right, thanks again for Liv for joining us, but we are now with our next OG of the bunch, Mark Schindler. You've probably seen his work everywhere on women's basketball Twitter, most recently doing bracketology with The Athletic. I'm sure that was an absolute, really simple thing to do, Mark, and definitely not complicated at all. How was building brackets? Because that seems rough.
I can guarantee you that everybody else sure thought it was simple and they knew better. So that was exciting. No, all due respect, I understand fans get frustrated, but that was the most thankless job I think I've ever done in sports. It was like doing an entire full-time job on top of my full-time job. So it was like, it was fun, like super challenging for sure. But like trying to convey to people that it wasn't really my opinion. It was like, I'm doing everything that I think the committee would do and, everything that they've shown, but, Twitter. So, yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
What do you mean
Sounds
logic?
like you're excited to do it next year.
Yeah, it sounds like you're ready to run it back. Is what I'm hearing. So I'm sure that you were incredibly happy just to see the bracket finalized once it came out, and that it was probably a bit of a sigh of relief. But now that the bracket has been finalized, we got some matchups that you are kind of projecting towards. Some first round, some a little bit down the line that you have your eyes on. Let's pull these up here. Let's start off we'll just go left to right here. Notre Dame and Oregon State, the 2-3 matchup in South Carolina's region. What about that game kind of just makes you put some eye emojis on it?
Yeah, I think this one, number one, I've just been such a huge proponent of Oregon State this whole year. I think the first game I caught them was against Villanova and then Jackson State, and I was like, this team is just like good. Like they're very good. They've done so well in clutch games, which I think I value a lot. I like not just and I think sometimes it can get overindexed for like you just win close games, but I think it's how they do. Like they are really good playing under pressure. I think that's going to be really important in the tournament, but especially for Notre Dame. Like Notre Dame has played like a top 4, top 5 team over the last couple of weeks, but especially with Kylie Watson out for the season now, unfortunately, I really am interested to see how they handle Reagan Beers because now that she's had some time to rest and recuperate, like I think that this Oregon State team is just so freaking good. I would bet on them to go to the Elite Eight as I have picked right now in my bracket. Notre Dame is incredible, but I just think that Oregon State team with how their depth and with how efficient and difficult to guard Reagan Beers is, like I think Notre Dame's going to be playing like 6 players.
Yeah.
And granted, they would probably have 2 of the 3 most talented in that group, but still, that's really hard. So I'm excited for that potential one.
Yeah, Andrew, anything to add to the Oregon State front? Because I know
we love our glorious beeflet. I actually
wait, our what?
The beeflet?
Now I think I want to undo my pick.
You're scaring the hose, Andrew.
They're bringing us to the promised land. I'm very excited for this team. I cannot wait to watch Oregon State and a rested Reagan Beers in this tournament. They have been the feel-good story of the year, I think. I'm all in. I also love this pick of yours, Mark. Marshall Vatek, because this was the one I mentioned last night is like, Marshall gets a hot night, this thing's over. I love this pick.
Yeah, and I think for me, it's even less about like Marshall having a hot night. And I think I will undo this if Liz Kitley is slated to play. Yeah. Because I think Virginia Tech is so good when the 2 of them are together. But like, I think with how this Marshall team plays, like I would be very worried about having to walk in and play that without having like a steady post presence because like they will press across half court on misses with the all 5. Like it's crazy to watch. And they're so committed to doing it. They're so good at doing it. For anybody who like James Madison in the Sun Belt Championship, if that was your first time watching, they play like that every single game and it's nuts. They're deep too. Like that is not a fun matchup in the first round for anybody, but especially a team that is missing arguably their best player. I think obviously Georgia Amore is incredible, but I think you cannot one-man show that.
Yeah. And
okay, so Greer got whacked.
Yeah.
Already.
You know the instigating gift, the instigator of the Olympic sport? That's
like whack her again.
I'm stretching.
I can't be whacked. We're not losing Syracuse.
This next matchup
again.
So Mark, you pick this matchup out, and Mark, I'll let you bat lead off, and Greer, I'll let you respond because you think that number 6 Syracuse is ready to pull off the upset against number 3 UConn. Mark, give me the reasoning. Give me the breakdown here.
Obviously, like I think it's close to like if it was a 50-50, I don't mind hearing that, but I would pick Syracuse. Like I think number one,
stand on it, Mark.
Like every prediction I have seen has them losing in the 11, and I just like I understand like there are some like mathematical things and models or whatever that make Syracuse look like an appealing upset pick. I just think it's kind of a crock of shit, to be honest. Like when I look at this team, they are so good. Like I think I was talking to somebody yesterday, and like finding like the one thing that people do that is going to translate is really important. This Syracuse team rebounds the hell out of the ball. I think they finished top 5 in the country in offensive rebound rate. They're so good on the interior, and they have good guard play. Like I think betting against that team is kind of wild to me. Obviously UConn is very good. They've especially figured things out on the defensive end, but I do think like they have not faced a front court like this in the Big East. As I think that sometimes the Big East talent stuff gets a little bit like unfair, but in general, like there aren't front courts that can match up with UConn. And that's been like, I think Aaliyah Edwards has just been able to eat through that. She's incredible, but I think behind her, I just have a lot more questions about what that looks like and how they perform on the glass against a team that is, even if they're missing shots, there's like their best offense sometimes is missing shots because of how good they are at just punishing you for it. And they're really solid defensively too. So this is maybe more of like reaching into spicy zone, but I would pick Syracuse in this one.
Well, we had one person who said UConn wasn't even going to make it to this matchup. So
yeah, nobody believes in you.
Are you prepared to do about it?
Yeah.
I'm getting it from all angles.
These are underdogs,
and it's a very unfamiliar territory. So I love the opportunity for the Huskies to show that they are dogs after all. You know, Shawnee, you know your
title
famous
contenders in Bristol, underdogs on Twitter. So
dogs.
I think if memory serves me correctly, and I know we didn't all get to watch the game, but Syracuse and UConn did play in a closed door scrimmage to start the season. And if I'm not mistaken, UConn won convincingly.
Gray was probably court.
She was a ref.
And again, right? Like if you get a second or third chance to see a team in a season, like sometimes the story changes. You know what I mean? Things go differently. But I just Paige Beckers.
Yeah,
period,
I mean, like, come on, you know.
Period.
Yeah.
Period.
I mean, that's
Greer, are you worried about the potential lack of bench? Because Amari DeBerry's done for the tournament.
Who was never playing
play
anyway.
All this year anyways,
Never played anyway.
He was ready.
Are we worried about a short bench potential?
Not really, because obviously for weekend 1 they're going to be playing at home, so like the comfort of being at home, and then let's say into Sweet 16, Elite 8. You know, there's still the day between games. You know, and you just know that. We don't win, we're going home. It's just that simple. It's no one should be thinking about fatigue. You know what I mean? Or it's just you have to play.
I mean, if that version of Ice Brady shows up for the NCAA tournament, then okay, I'm picking them over Syracuse.
In Ice we trust.
Yep.
In Ice we trust.
Daisy Fair and Paige Beckers, though, that is a made for TV matchup.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I'm excited for that. And the fact that your name, while saying that, is UConn under Huskies, I don't know what to
under
do.
Huskies.
Under Huskies. I mean, you're not. This is like the 4th name that you changed to. But no, all of those matchups are going to be very, very fun to watch. But obviously, it all comes down to the Final Four. We have your Final Four here. One team stands out here, Mark.
Ooh, hot.
The team in purple, the Gap Goats, Kansas State. Break it down. I know you've been a Kansas State believer kind of throughout this year. Ayoka Lee goes down during Big 12 play, and they kind of have to relearn a little bit of how this team functions. But then she comes back, lose to Texas in the Big 12 tournament, but they're in your Final Four. So break it down for us.
Yeah, I think to me this is a lot about just like what their region is, and they're one of the teams that I felt like needed to have that week off and just like not like obviously you want to win the Big 12 championship, but in some ways I feel like they've just felt like a team that needs to be able to reset for the last month. And I think they've been more competitive than I think I've gotten credit for. They've still been very good. It's just they haven't been elite like they were at the beginning of the year. And I think maybe getting that week off could be really beneficial for them because obviously what they did at the beginning of the year, so much of that was we have Ayoka. She's incredible. We have all this going on around her. And then they had to figure out like, okay, well, now she's out for a month and we're playing basically 5 out, completely changing our offense. And it never felt like they were able to mesh the two once she came back.
Yeah.
And my hope is that they can do that while still bringing the defense they have, especially with Colorado. Like Colorado really got the short end of the stick with this. in terms of where they got seeded and how this played out. I still would have liked to see them as a 4 seed. But I think, K-State getting that 4 seed could be really huge in propelling a run. And like they've played Iowa State better than anybody else this year. I think Nebraska, like obviously Nebraska played them really well, but I thought that was so much more about like Iowa just got taken out of that game in the fourth quarter by both benches in a sense. And I think like you look at this, like, I don't know. I just think they can't guard Aoka when she is at her best. And they have so much length and size on the perimeter that Iowa really struggles with when they're locked in. So I just would like to see it. I've loved this K-State team all year, and I want to see it happen.
Now you've been pushing the agendas throughout this year with K-State.
I wouldn't say agenda. Hey, they were top 14.
I didn't say it wasn't deserved. Hold on. All right? I'm not getting my Big 12 vote taken away. I love the Big 12.
Bracket people, don't put that on him.
Yeah, I love the Big 12.
I still have Iowa seeded as a 1. Okay, that doesn't.
So that was one of the matchups. Like if I was like my messiest matchup, that K-State Iowa one is going to be so fun because like how often do you see teams like play twice in non-con? Like, I mean, I can't really think of this instance happening before. So I'm very excited to see how that plays out. I do want to ask though, because you shared the same 3 as Liv outside of Kansas State. She had Colorado there, but your championship game and your champion, who do you have?
I have South Carolina versus Ohio State, and I have South Carolina.
Too.
Wow.
Me too. Hold on.
I think one of the things, because I burned myself with this last year, I picked a lot of young groups to make it to the Final Four, and I just was so off. This is not meant to be unfair to them. Like I still have Texas and USC both making the Elite 8, but I just think about how much experience Ohio State has. And to be honest, too, like I get why people are picking against Stanford. I think that is probably the right choice because of their guard play. I just don't think that there's a team that they go up against that's going to give them the problems to actually take them out. Like as good as Tennessee is, I'm not really worried about Tennessee's guards taking me out. As good as Iowa State is, so much of that is if you can guard Audie Crooks, I think it makes it a lot harder in their offense. And I think Stanford can really handle that. Like all due respect, I think people are underselling how good Cameron Brink and Kiki often are in that matchup.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, like, to me, I think Stanford, I think people would maybe pause at seeing them in the Final Four, but I think that they're, with what their bracket's going to end up being, I think that's definitely possible.
They probably had the best duo in the nation.
I mean, I heard a lot of, obviously the question yesterday after the reveal was which number 1 has the easiest path, but I heard a lot of people saying that they thought Stanford at the 2 seed had one of the easiest paths.
Oh,
was it you? Okay.
Who was somebody?
Yeah. But so yeah, it's not a common thing, but there are murmurs.
Yeah, I mean it's not murmurs. Like I mean, I think it's spot on though. Like because you have. I mean, who out there? It's South Carolina. That's the team that can try and match up like just size for size with them. Like they're. I mean, Texas has size, but we've
seen this movie so many times in the last 3 years between them though. Like Tara built her front court to try and beat the South Carolina Aaliyah Boston front courts, and then Dawn Staley just went, oh, by the way, I got a back court too. And it was like, oh.
What happened in those matchups, Andrew? Where they go, Andrew?
The family, if I recall.
We were there, and then I was at the one in CLA when I thought y'all was about to be. We were down like what, double digits at the half, and I was like, well, 1 loss isn't bad.
One loss isn't bad.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's. Go ahead.
I do agree with you, Mark, that it feels like this is the tournament of the upperclassmen, and just with the upperclassmen laden teams. Which the only pause I have here with that is South Carolina, and maybe it's just because talent is so good that it can overcome the variance of youth, and we've seen that so many times this year. Is that there is still a youth-ish element with them, and yet I don't see enough compelling up until maybe the Elite 8 where I'm thinking, all right, there's a real possibility that they might fall before. I mean, is there anything here that leads you to believe that the youth is going to become a problem before the title? Because I don't see it.
No, because like I think that one's tough. Like I still can't believe that the committee put UNC as a potential second round matchup for the top
Court
overall
Gator.
seed. That was crazy.
That was
me.
them instigating. That was
that was so wild to me, especially with how that game went too. I was like, all right, y'all, what are you doing here? But I actually would probably pick Michigan
Lining
State.
our pocketbooks. That's what we're
mess.
I have Michigan State picked to beat UNC. I think Michigan State's just a better basketball team. Even then, like Michigan State doesn't have the size to match up with South Carolina. I don't think they're good enough defensively this year. Oklahoma, like if Oklahoma shoots like 55% from three, okay. But like the problem is,
thank you for the vote of confidence.
Well, I just like to be honest, like the problem is
no, but you're right. That's,
like, I just think about how the teams play because like Oklahoma beat Texas because Texas refuses to do anything other than play man-to-man defense. They couldn't guard Nevaeh Todd off the dribble, and she just painted the corners, and they shot 1,000,000% from three and won the game. And they played it. They practiced at 5:30 in the morning, anyways, the next day. But like I think you look at South. I just don't think that anybody in that bracket has the tools necessarily to do it.
Yeah.
I think that them against Oregon State would be a really fun game.
That's the one. That's the only one. Like we were talking about last time. That feels like the only one that's even like obviously there's potential for anything, but that's the one that like if the only one that feels like okay maybe. Like everything else outside of that feels like man this would be a long shot. But Oregon State is the one that maybe it's still a long shot, but maybe. But Mark, we appreciate you for coming on and joining us here in the No Cap Space. Like we're so excited to have you joining us within our bracket challenge and everything, and being one of the OGs. We got the OGs here. We're gonna have some of the Joes coming in, some of the newbies coming in and filling out some brackets because sometimes you just gotta go off logos and mascots and see what shakes when it comes to March Madness.
Hey, my mom beats me every year, and that's what she does.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. We're on the vibes.
Yeah.
So
vibes.
We're very excited. Thank you again for joining us, and make sure that you guys stay tapped in across the board with everything No Cap Space, the Substack, the YouTube, the Twitter, and the playback. We're going to be all over March Madness, covering games, watching games. So make sure you stay tapped in to the No Cap Space. Cool.